But, except for Buddha, nobody understood. He accepted the laughter and immediately realized that Mahakashayat had attained. The quality of that laugh was cosmic. He understood the whole joke of the situation. There was nothing else to it. The whole thing is as if the divine is playing hide and seek with you. Others thought Mahakashayat was a fool, laughing in front of Buddha. But Buddha thought this man had become wise. Fools always have a subtle wisdom in them. And the wise always act like fools. In the old days all great emperors, always, had one fool in their court. They had many wise men, counselors, ministers, and prime ministers, but always one fool. Even though many of them were intelligent and wise, emperors all over the world in the East and the West had a court jester, a fool. Why? Because there are things so-called wise men will not be able to understand. That only a foolish man can understand. Because the wise can be so foolish that their cunningness and cleverness close their minds. A fool is simple, and was needed because many times the so-called wise would not say something, because they were afraid of the emperor. A fool is not afraid of anybody else. He will speak whatsoever the consequences. A clever man always thinks first of the result, then he acts. Thought comes first, then action. A foolish man acts, thought never comes first. Whenever someone realizes the ultimate, he is not like a wise man. He cannot be. He may be like a fool, but he cannot be like a wise man. When Mahakashayat laughed, he was a fool, and Buddha understood him. Later on, Buddhist priests didn't understand him, so they dropped the anecdote. His anecdote has been dropped from Buddhist scriptures. Because it is sacrilegious to laugh before Buddha. To make it the original source of a great tradition, as Zen, is not good. This is not a good precedent that a man laughed before Buddha. And also not a good thing that Buddha gave the key to this man, and not to Sariputta, Ananda, Madalayan, and others who were important, significant. And finally, it was they, Sariputta, Ananda, and Madalayan, who recorded the scriptures. Mahakashayat was never asked. Even if they had asked, he would not have answered. Mahakashayat was never consulted, whether he had something to say to be recorded. When Buddha died, all the monks gathered and started recording what happened. And what did not. Nobody asked Mahakashayat. This man must have been discarded by the community. The whole community must have felt jealous. The key had been given to this man, who was not known at all, who was not a great scholar or pundit. Nobody knew him before, and suddenly that morning, he became the most significant man because of the laughter, because of the silence. And in a way they were right, because how can you record silence? You can record words, you can record what happened in the visible. But how can you record what has not happened in the visible? They knew the flower had been given to Mahakashayat, nothing else. But the flower was just a container. It had something in it, Buddhahood, the touch of Buddha's inner being, the fragrance that cannot be seen, that cannot be recorded. The whole thing seems as if it never happened, or as if it happened in a dream. Those who recorded the scriptures were men of words, proficient in verbal communication, in talking, discussing, arguing. But Mahakashayat is never heard of again. This is the only thing known about him, such a small thing, that the scriptures must have missed it. Mahakashayat has remained silent, and silently the inner river has been flowing. To others the key has been given, and the key is still alive. It still opens the door. These two are the parts: the inner silence, the silence so deep, that there is no vibration in your being, you are. But there are no waves, you are just a pool without waves. Not a single wave arises, the whole being silent. Still inside, at the center, silence, and on the periphery, celebration and laughter. Only silence can laugh, because only silence can understand the cosmic joke. So your life becomes a vital celebration. Your relationship becomes a festive thing. Whatsoever you do, every moment is a festival. You eat, and eating becomes a celebration. You take a bath, and bathing becomes a celebration. You talk, and talking becomes a celebration. Relationships become a celebration. Your outer life becomes festive. There is not sadness in it. How can sadness exist with silence? But ordinarily you think otherwise. You think if you are silent you will be sad. Ordinarily you think, how can you avoid sadness if you are silent? I tell you that the silence that exists with sadness cannot be true. Something has gone wrong. You have missed the path. You are off the track. Only celebration can give proof that a real silence has happened. Buddha must have known Mahakashiyat. He must have known when he was looking at the flower silently, and everybody was restless. He must have known that only one being there, Mahakashiyat, was not restless. Buddha must have felt the silence coming from Mahakashiyat. But he would not call him up. When he laughed, the Buddha called him, and gave him the flower. Why? Silence is only the half of it. Mahakashiyat would have missed, if he had been incorrectly silent, and didn't laugh. Then the key would not have been given to him. He was only half grown, not yet a fully grown tree, not blossoming. The tree was there, but flowers had not yet come. Buddha waited. Now, I will tell you, Buddha waited for so many minutes. Why? For 1 or 2, or 3 hours, he waited. Mahakashiyat was silent, but he was trying to contain laughter. He was trying to control laughter. He was trying not to laugh because it would be so unmannerly. What would Buddha think? What would the others think? But then, the story says, he couldn't contain himself anymore. It had to come out as a laugh. The flood became too much, and he couldn't contain it anymore. When silence is too much, it becomes laughter. It becomes so overflooded that it starts overflowing in all directions. He laughed. It must have been a mad laughter, and in that laughter there was no Mahakashiyat. Silence was laughing. Silence had come to a blossoming. Then immediately Buddha called Mahakashiyat, take this flower, this is the key. I have given to all others what can be given in words, but to you I give that which cannot be given in words. The message beyond words, the most essential, I give to you. Buddha waited for those hours so that Mahakashiyat's silence could overflow and become laughter.